Good morning and welcome. I'm Bob Pace. I'm your host on a live podcast, How to Fight CPS. And also, hang on to your children. You can't forget our lovely children. Um, this is a podcast that you found on Facebook, How to Fight CPS with Bob Pace. And it's being broadcast on YouTube. I'm using the StreamYard application. And I want to welcome you all. I want to welcome you all to finding this, and I know right now that you have trouble with your CPS case. And I can understand that could be a big problem for you. Now, this is an interactive podcast, which means there are four ways that you can um, respond with this podcast. The first way is by just finding the podcast and being in the room and listening and taking notes, and you can do emojis, thumbs up, smiley faces, hearts. And so we're welcome the emojis. Also, click down below to subscribe and also click the notification so that you notify when I'm on, because I'm on twice a day, 7 days a week. I come on at 10 o'clock in the morning, Pacific Standard Time for 1 hour, and then I'm going to go in at nighttime at 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time for 1 hour. There's one exception on Sundays. I come on at 8 o'clock because I go to church with my family. There may be other times, and I'll tell you ahead of time on the times. It's being football season. I have a son that plays high school football, and it's Friday Night Lights. But this weekend, it's all safe and fine. They're over in Hawaii, and their game is on Saturday, and they're 3 hours behind us. So that won't interfere me on my Saturday podcast. So that's one way. Now, let's say you want to, make a comment or ask a question. The program is able that you can do so. All you have to do is, uh, let me put it up here, text a comment um, about CPS. We want to pertain it to CPS. It's very important that we deal with a child protection system. That's what they call the branch of social service that deals with the protection of our children from neglect or abuse, and also assist families with uh, assistance in the areas of food, shelter, clothing, education, medical, and even a job. And they're supposed to do so. And then lastly, if they have to break the family apart, there's family reunification. All I ask is to show your first name. You don't have your last name. And it's sometimes better because the names that you may have on your Facebook or YouTube are sometimes very creative. They're great names like Jumping Hippopotamus or Dancing Butterflies or Psychedelic Swans. But if you could put a name like Peggy, Bill, Tom, Jane, some name that'd be great, followed by the city or the county, and then the state. I also have comments from people from other countries. So I like to see the city and countries. I've had about 13 of them. I've had Bangladesh and New Delhi, India. I've had a country from the Middle East, but it was in Arabic, and I couldn't quite make it out. But I know that some Arabic countries are listening. And then Africa, we've had three countries there. We've had Liberia in North Africa on the west side. And then we've had um, Mozambique on the east side across from Madagascar. And then in Central East Africa, we've had Rwanda. And um, down south on the west side, we have South Africa province, one of the provinces. They had a text a comment in. Now we move up to Europe. We've had England, Scotland, Wales, part of the United Kingdom, and then I've had Denmark and Sweden. Then across the big pond, we have North America. I've had Canada and all the 50 states, including Washington, D.C., that have either texted in or called, and most of them have been calls in. And so I've pretty much talked to every state, over about 500 some people. And then south of the border, we have Mexico. And they have text a message in. And then we go down to South America, and we have Guyana. That is east of Venezuela, north of Brazil, on the east coast of South America. Then across the Pacific, we have Australia, and they have a couple people from Australia. So this is the international problem, the CPS is, and so every county will probably have a different name. I know in California they call it Child Protection Services, and in Arizona's Department of Children's Services. But when I say CPS, I mean the CPS system that protects the children from neglect or abuse and does financial family aid and family reunification. Now, the third way that, oh, before I forget on your text and your comments, make sure you're very complete with your CPS case. It helps me if you start off telling about your case before you type your question or comment. Meaning, what is the what is the makeup of your family? Are you a mother, father, a husband, wife, lovers, partnerships? Are you both parents involved? Are you a single parent raising the kids? Are the parents the same parents for all the children, or are there different sets of parents? Then the ages of the children, the sexes of the children, then the allegations, and try to be detailed about them. And then how will the children take it? That was really important for me because I try to find out how will the children take it. Like, did you give them up? Did they come into your home because of domestic violence, or did they have a court order with a warrant? Anyway, that's kind of important there. And then lastly, where you at on your case? Is the beginning, the middle, 2 years in, 3 years, so forth. So that is the second way. The third way to interact with this podcast is you can be a guest on my show. I'd love to have you on my podcast. And to be a guest, I have a show producer. Her name is Grace. She works behind the scenes, and she helps me a lot with making this show successful and will help you all be a guest on the podcast. Now, she can be reached at her email at grace at vincentwdavis.com. Grace at vincentdavis.com. All you do is tell one of my 14 shows, either Monday show or Wednesday or Sunday, either the morning or evening, and she'll get you on. I have 14 shows. She also gave the link for StreamYard, and if that link, if you get knocked off, get back on with the same link. It works all the time. Furthermore, when you on the show, it's important that you have proper lighting behind you so we can see you, and then also make sure you have a microphone or some way of hearing your voice is up there, and turn down any background sounds. Also, she'll tell you about no eating or smoking on the podcast, like no snacks or chewing ice or gum or anything like that. And then um, also, we don't use the first names of children, judges, or social workers. So I can take up to 9 of you, a total of 10 people can be on the podcast. I've had as much as 4, but it's nice to have a guest. I had a guest not too long ago from West Virginia, Stephanie, a couple days ago. So that's the third way. Now, the fourth way is to have access to call in. I do have a phone number. My office number is 626-698-0990. That's direct line to my phone. I'll answer it during my show hours. If you call before my show hours or after my show hours, just leave a message and I'll text you back with the show times. I cannot talk before or after my show. Now, if that means my phone's live, make sure you speak loud into the phone and you don't have any background sounds because I'll put you on speakerphone, but it's important you have your voice up high on that so that everybody can hear you and be able to talk just like a guest, but you'd be talking on my phone. I use Vonage, which is a live stream uh, application for the phone, so um, it will come in on my phone, and then I will ask you, where you're from and so forth. Be nice if you can introduce yourself with your first name. Say hi. This is Karen. I'm from uh, Washington D.C. and I have uh, I'm a husband, wife, and we're both involved. The same spiel you're doing with the comments, and just be complete as you can, and speak up, and you'll be live, and then you can help other people, and we can help you, and so forth. So that's the four ways. One, just being part of the show. I mean, be part of the podcast. Two, to text a comment in. Three, to be a guest on the podcast. And four, to call in. Now, we have lots of ways we can go with this podcast. I have a lot of information I can share with you. Um, Let me tell you a little bit about myself because that's always asked there. I'm a family man. I've been married 31 years. I have six children. Three are older, grown up, and three are younger. And I too was in CPS, and I had a terrible case. It went on for, well, it's kind of three parts. The first part for 5 years is answering false allegations. Then they finally able to trick me into getting my children. And in 2015, three of my young children were trafficked or stolen into foster care. And it took me 3 years to get two of my three children back. Unfortunately, the girl, because of revenge by the social worker, she did not come back, and that really has hurt her mother and I. But I'm a loving family man, and I also, unfortunate, in 2010, at the age of 60, I lost my job through no fault of my own, and I'm trying to look for work again. And it's hard when you get older because they don't think old people can work. They think we're dinosaurs. So that's a little bit about myself. I've worked a long time. I've worked about 60 years of my life in all kinds of different professions. I have extensive background. So that tells you a little about me. Now, your adversaries, the CPS, something about them. I think it's important you know what kind of people you're dealing with. Now, I try to make my shows different because I can talk about my case or CPS or talk about my 5 rules, or I have topics I can talk about too. I have lots of topics I can talk about. I'm broadcasting from Southern California. I'm at the beach, about a mile from the ocean. It's a little bit of windy today. It's overcast. We're supposed to get thunderstorms, I thought. But we've been having some warm weather, but it's cooled down. So right now it's on the cool side. So um, something about the people you're dealing with. The CPS system, I'm afraid to tell you, is corrupt. And why I'm saying that is that it's all about money. Money is what runs them. It's a $1 trillion business, and they want to take your children. They want to traffic your children to foster care. The longer they're in foster care and when they're adopted, the more money they get. And the money, by the way, is paid from the federal government. Now, I want to welcome Catherine Elizabeth Walker. Thank you so much for coming in. Do you know about Senator Nancy Schaefer and her documented film? Yes, I had heard. It was kind of sad about that, but yes, I do. I want to thank you very much for sharing that with her. Unfortunately, She's no longer with us. And what part of the country are you from? Are you from Georgia? Where are you from, Catherine? And thank you for the 3 claps. Appreciate that. We have a guest in the room named Catherine. I have no idea where she's from, but maybe she can share that with us. I asked, oh, Brooklyn, New York. Okay, great. I'd love to hear from you, Catherine. We have another person from Brooklyn, New York called KK, and she's from Brooklyn. So I'm glad to have you here. Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad to meet you there, Catherine. Um, I'd like to help you any way I can. Um, there's a couple of people that usually are in here right by now, and they're my regulars. Do you have a case, Catherine? No, there's no universal way how CPS operates, Catherine. It does vary from state. Kentucky, which I have a lady that is in here almost every one of my shows, is very corrupt. And CPS is probably the worst there. And she's from Richmond, Kentucky. But it works different. Even the tribes are different. CPS is set up by Congress as a part of a branch of social service. So every county in every state has a CPS system. It just has different names. And what one thing I could say they have in common is their whole goal is to make money. It's $1 trillion business. Their goal is not to help your children. In fact, it's changed. It used to be, and we need them, is to help out children that are really being neglected or abused. But lately, it seems like they're being accused wrongly lately. And all right, I'd be interested in that, Catherine. But you'll find out that they are very corrupt. They are revengeful. I mean, you mentioned the girl in the early part of your comment, Catherine, um, Nancy Schaefer. You know, uh, she's a remarkable person, and yeah, the court is very, 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 very corrupt. Um, I'm trying to get Faye to join us. And this person named Jill wrote Family Court Corruption. I can imagine that because dependency court is where they take care of children. And dependency court, the judges are elected. They're not appointed. They're elected. So this being election year, it's very important to go out and vote and get the right kind of judges there. My judge in the Orange County um, system the CPS system, knew all about auto claims and auto damage, but knew nothing about families or juveniles or how to do family reunification. You see, lately they just want to take your child, whether they're in imminent danger or not. My three children weren't in imminent danger. Being in school is not imminent danger, and they were ripped from school, and they were put in danger. They were put in danger. I know Nancy is a really excellent person. I know who you're talking about, Catherine. I'm glad to meet you there. I'm trying to understand if you have your case. Let me see here. That's why um, she tragically died in March 26, 2010. And she served a long time uh, in Georgia from about 2004. So she was there a good 6 years. And she's my age. She's my age. And they were killed, gunshot wounds. Um, she was an activist, and she was doing really great. And the police say it was a murder suicide perpetrated by her husband, so a motive was never identified or proved. You really wonder. You really wonder. And she really was concerned about family rights. She's advocated. She is a good Christian, and um, I admire her. Um, I've had people talk about her on my show here before. You're about the second person, though. Now, let me share with our listeners. Um, okay, I should call you Brittany too. Brittany Meal. She has a screen name because she's part of the actors, so she must be an actor. So Brittany, I can call you by that name, Brittany. And she's from Brooklyn, New York. And um, the way the system works, especially with the Native American Indians in the United States, they have ICWA, the Indian Child Welfare Act of 1978. And for so long, since about the 1870s, 75, when they started putting the Indians on reservations, anytime there was a problem with CPS, they would automatically, CPS would take the children, never bring them back to the families. So it took them almost 100 years to enact a law that says that they would now be um, protected and put in with tribes. The tribes would put them with Indian families to get them back. But I've also talked to some people that had some problems. The Cherokee in Oklahoma, the Cherokee Nation used to be in Florida, were relocated. So a lot of the Indians were different parts of the country, all put into like Oklahoma and other places. So um, it does vary. The child protection system is like I talked to a social worker from Maryland named Carol, who talked to us for 40 minutes, and she's a clinical psychiatrist from Maryland, and she was telling me how she does her CPS case. I've had three social workers on here. Now, Jew Jones Soderman wrote the book called The Family, and it's going to be a Supreme Court case. That's really good because I have Faye Manling that has written several interesting articles in Kentucky that she's trying to fight them about the same thing you're doing, is family court corruption. Okay, so Brittany says her child is still with her father. I'm as the protective parent, but I'm also working through emotional distress and find a way to tell what happened to us. I'm afraid to go back to court in any matter. Don't be afraid. I know what it feels like. I've been there. As I say, I had to fight for 15 years. I had 5 years of false allegations by a layperson, and then they took my children, tricked me, and then made me go through hell for 3 years. Then I got my children back because I got an attorney, and I had one of the best attorneys working for me, and his name is Vincent Davis. Now, this Jill Jim Soderman wrote the book. I got to look that up. Um, let me see here. Let's see the family court corruption. I'm glad you dropped into my show because I always look for new things. There's the role of journalists in failing to report family court by Jill Jones Soderman. The roles of journalists in fighting report to family courts. And it was an interview with a reporter at San Francisco Public Press. Wow. That's interesting. I have to spend some time to read it. I don't have time during the show. Um, it does give you hope. Good. I'm glad to hear that. Well, you have to be careful now. You can appeal. Your medical rights and your education rights are never supposed to be taken away unless your kids are going to be adopted. And if they are, you can do what's called an appeal, and you can get your. You don't want to have your medical rights. Um, you are very important. You can tell them what doctors your child is, unless they've been terminated, and you don't want to have your termination of parental rights, your TPR. You never want that taken away from you. And there's always hope. Um, there's always hope. I don't want you to have to give up hope on that. I don't want you to give that at all. And I'm glad you've come into our room here, um, Brittany. I'm glad you have. Yeah, the ombudsperson aren't really good for you. There's ways you can go to the top. You can go to the top in Washington D.C. Um, each state has a civil rights coordinator. The ombudsperson is supposed to be a neutralized party, but they're not really fair with the parents, and you don't really you can't expect anything from them. And you really the ombudsperson's at it's at the top of every state, but you want to go through the civil rights coordinator in New York. Um, Now, what the civil rights coordinator would do, they are designated by the county administrator to monitor and coordinate the county's compliance with state and federal non-discrimination laws, or send prevention efforts to avoid civil rights from occurring. You have your constitutional rights, you have your civil rights. CPS will violate both of them. They're not afraid to. So you got to be careful about that. And you can contact them and file a grievance. All you have to do is file a complaint with them. Now, um, now let me go back here. Yeah, ombudsperson is a waste of time. They're really not there. Hello there, Shelby Lynn. Welcome. Um, I'm trying to get the information. Are you from New York, Shelby? What city and state are you from? And welcome there. I have Brittany, who's from Brooklyn, New York, with a terrible case, and it looks like they're trying to suppress her children. Now, Brittany, are you, um, okay? You're from Louisville, Kentucky. Okay, so is Faye Manling from Richmond, Kentucky. I do get a lot of people. I think Shelby Lynn, you may have been on the show before, but I welcome you. And oh, okay, Shelby's the one who's having issues with medical rights. Thank you, Brittany. Thank you. I talked to a lot of people, so excuse me if I don't have it all quite right and figured it out here. I was hoping that Faye would be on right now here, because this is very interesting to her. And let me see if I'm going to see if I can get Faye to join us. Yeah, I know it's probably a nightmare. Yeah, I'm trying to get a hold of Faye right now from Richmond, Kentucky, who's really good about doing a lot of things.
Yes, hello. You have reached my voicemail. I'm unavailable to take your call right now. If you could leave your name, your number, and a brief message, I will return your call as soon as I possibly can. Thank you, and have a wonderful, blessed day. At the tone, please record your message. When you've finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Yeah, Faye, when you get this message, if you could call in, I got some important visitors to my podcast. I have Shelby Lynn, um, who's from Kentucky, um, and let me see, she is from Louisville, Kentucky. I think she's been talked to the show. I think you may have talked to her. I have Brittany from Brooklyn, New York, and Shelby has trouble with medical rights, and so is Brittany too. Brittany had the same kind of thing. I have Brittany from Brooklyn, New York, and they both. Brittany has some really good information about somebody you may know, which is Nancy Schaefer, and there's been a lot of work that she did, and written there and stuff there. So, Faye, if you get this, can you call in? That would be great. Thanks. Well, hopefully, Faye will call in there, Shelby and Catherine. But anyway, do either one of you want to call in right now? My phone number is live at 626-698-0990. Um, if you guys want to call in and talk, I can give you the phone. You can talk about your case. I don't know all the details of the case, but we have two mothers very worried about their children. One from Louisville, Kentucky, and the other one from Brooklyn, New York. And one is Shelby Lynn, the other one is Brittany, who has an acting name. I think her acting name is Catherine Elizabeth Walker. And they've talked about Nancy Schaefer, who was a Georgia congressman who was killed, unfortunately. And she's an activist to fight CPS and then fight parents who want to get their kids back. So I was talking to you about what the kind of social workers that are out there, saying they're corrupt and everything. Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
All right. So it's really hard dealing with them. I say it's like dealing with Alice in Wonderland. And I do like to get into one of my important rules is to have an attorney. You need to have an attorney. Now, I'm not an attorney, but I have from my own experience related, and I'm pretty intelligent, and I've looked up a lot of things. I can share with you what worked for me in my case. But I do have an attorney that produces podcasts. His name is Vincent W. Davis. And I'd like you to introduce him there. He is a juvenile family dependency lawyer with 35 years of fighting CPS and getting your kids back. He's also done lawsuits and filed both federal and state courts and won millions of dollars against lose your constitutional or civil rights. And he works all over the United States. He has a case right now in Oklahoma and a case up in Merced, California, Northern California. His home is in the LA area, but he works anywhere. And right now, I got him to offer a consultation for 30 minutes. He'll talk to you for $60. It's well worth every penny of it because he's the best. He's a trial attorney, and he's been doing this a long time. And he's really good about how to talk and how they handle things in court and how they help you all. Now, I have a ticket running down below, and to get him to have a time with him is all you have to do is you want to book a discount Zoom consultation. That's for up to 30 minutes. All you do is go to https://candidly CALENDLY.com/APPTSVWD/Bob Pace. That's BOPPACE. And he'll talk to you. He'll talk to you on strategy. Getting an attorney is so important. If you, for instance, could do open heart surgery, you're going to get a bona fide qualified doctor to do that. You're not going to get a plumber or a mechanic to do the surgery. You're going to get a doctor. The same thing goes for CPS. If you want to know how to navigate, and they're liars, and they are really tough, but Vincent Davis knows how to work the system and how to help you out. And so if you want to get that special rate, you just book them through that link. Now, I have another number posted there, 888-888-6582. That number is to reach my office, and you can also talk to Vincent Davis on that for his retainer and his other fees and so forth. And they can help you out there. Just tell them Bob Pace sent you. And if you do a Zoom consultation, Mr. Davis, make sure you tell them that Bob Pace sent you. Again, it's 30 minutes for $6. Now you're probably going to say, well, court attorney is a lot better. No, court attorney's not better. I never said never use one. I mean, not to use one if you have to. Um, they are busy. They have like 30 cases, and they're not well trained. They're beginning attorneys. They know about criminal, but they don't know about dependency law or family law or juvenile law. And they won't fight your case. They will not win your case, and you're going to be sadly disappointed. Okay. Now, thank you very much, Brittany. Yes, this it's. I have to call another day. Today's been hard going through evidence, but I'll email you and call later date. I'd love that. I'd love to hear from you and help you out, Catherine. I'm putting that up so people can see that. And then Shelby says she says she's currently at work too and unable to call. So both Brittany and Shelby are at work. Now, Brittany further says the retaliation of CPS is intense. I've been an activist for 14 years against ACS, and CPS seems to know of that during my CPS case, CPS in New York City. It's called Operation Stop CPS and abolish um, New York CACS in my case. There was retaliation for workers, which I have evidence of. Yes, I know all about retaliation firsthand. In my case, my social worker, young social worker in her 20s, who didn't have a degree, didn't have a license, was on the witness stand, and my attorney was cross-examining her because he was trying to determine um, what kind of parents that my wife's sister and husband, they wanted to adopt our daughter. We didn't want that to happen. So this social worker was bragging about how good my wife's sister and husbands were great parents. But then Mr. Davis, and doing his asking the social worker, went into the briefcase, pulled out a folder about an inch thick. There was about 30 police reports of domestic violence. And then he asked the social worker, he started reading the reports in court. It embarrassed the social worker so much that she left the court because she lied. She perjured herself because he asked her, has there ever been domestic violence? Or how good are the parents? Oh, they're perfect parents. They're really good. That's when he brought out the reports, the police reports, and they were intense. They were physical violence. So what the social worker did, she told my wife that you're never going to see your daughter again. And what she did, she coached our 12-year-old daughter to emancipate herself from us as parents. She had to divorce her mom and dad, divorced from us, divorced her two brothers, divorced from her grandparents, her cousins, aunts, uncles, everybody in the family. Change your name, and then um, seal her birth certificate, be adopted by foster care, and the foster care became her parents on a new birth certificate. That's how bad that social worker was. Our daughter was 12. She didn't know what she was doing. And she was coached and coerced for retaliation because we can sue that social worker for committing perjury. And we haven't done so yet because it takes a lot of money to sue. But that is a that is retaliation extremely bad, extremely bad. So I do know what you're going through, um, Shelby and Brittany. Now, Shelby says, however, I'm to the point where I'll be documenting everything they say. That's good. You have to document it. It's been a torment. The supervisor was riding by my home, honking her horn at myself and my family. That's called intimidation. That's how bad they are in Louisville, Kentucky. I know how Kentucky can be. She would yell at me and make me do programs for absolutely no reason. We sat stagnant for 8 months before I got visitation with my son. That is terrible, Shelby. And I know Faye's talked to you, I think, and try to help there. And and then also Shelby talks to Brittany, Catherine Elizabeth Walker. You're not lying. My worker told me the supervisor would hold it over my head because I didn't say what you wanted to in court. Yep, you're right. They retaliate. They do retaliation. And I agree with you, Shelby. I agree with you. Oh, you never spoke with Faye. Okay, good. She's talked to another person in Kentucky. I apologize. As I say, there's been over 500 some people. But Faye is an advocate in Richmond, Kentucky. And she's written an article and she's sent it off to various people in the state. The governor's corrupt. The senators are corrupt. In fact, the other day, Faye and myself called Congress. We talked to the operator there. And we we wanted to speak to somebody in Congress that can help us. And I was surprised that the operator at the Congress allowed time for us to talk to her. And so she mentioned some Congress people, and one of them was Schuler, I think was the name there. So we called the office, and they've not gotten back to us, but we left a message there. But so many of the Congress are corrupt, but the only way they're going to make things happen is we need to get Congress involved. You need to get Congress involved. So Faye and myself are calling the House, Congress in Washington D.C. We have the number, and we did talk to an operator there, and we know, how that makes an inroads. So she's trying to write some articles and send them off to key people in the state of Kentucky. And so I'm pretty sure that she would like to talk to you two ladies there, Brittany, who's also Catherine Elizabeth Walker, and Shelby Lynn. Now, that's a lot of information you shared with me today, both of you. And I'm glad you're documenting. That is so important to document things. In retaliation, they're definitely for that. There's no question about that. Now, my show is on at 7 o'clock at night Pacific Standard Time and 10 o'clock in the morning. So if tonight's good, you guys can call me tonight. It'd be later because you guys are on the East Coast. Kentucky is on the East Coast. New York is on the East Coast, so you're 3 hours ahead of me. But I would like to help you ladies, and I do care. There's some things you can do that can help you, and you got to be careful. Don't trust them. Don't make deals. Don't sign safety plans. In fact, don't talk to them. And it's hard because you need to get an attorney, and they're so expensive. I had to sell my house. I had a nice house at the beach here in California, but I had to sell my house, and all my money I sold from it went to go hire Mr. Davis. So okay. Brittany says I had 3 years of clean drug tests, and still this day I'm not acknowledged for those 2 years of random tests and a court testing, peeing in front of the officers in court. It's really mentally damaged me, and I'll never do a test from them again. You don't, by the way, you need to get an attorney. You don't have to do their tests. You get your own test. You go to your own insurance and do your own test. You don't have to pee in front of all of it. They're corrupt. The police are corrupt. They're friends with the CPS. It seems it was 2 years pulling my pants down for no reason. They never took into account my test. One missed when I was out of town, but all clean, all. Random never missed. Can we talk about testing whatever is Constitution? Yes, we can talk about testing. Testing is an important thing in there. They're going to try to do two things. They're going to try to get a positive test, and they're going to try to say you're mentally insane, and they're not even licensed to do that. It takes a clinical psychologist. You need your own medical reports done, your own medical testing. You need to do that, Brittany. And then Shelby says, judicial speaking, there is a family judge who's redocking cases 15 to 20 times. So families can't afford representation. Yeah, they'll try to do that. They're going to try to break you with money. This comes from the mouth of one of the public defenders. Yeah, you can do with that. And again, I'll have to spend some time about how to stop redocting court cases. Let me see. You're talking in Kentucky. Stopping redocking court cases in lose in Kentucky. There is a motion in the Kentucky government. It's 11.7. It's a motion to redocket standards of practice. County attorneys request a motion to redocket by following the appropriate regional. See, you need to do homework. You need to fight the enemy. There's a rule 83.2 in Kentucky. There's a procedure 43, 63, and 20. All about redocketing and stuff. There's a way you can stop this. Boy, I don't know where Bracken County, but there's an ordinance in Bracken County. There's a lot of information. I'm finding this on the internet. I just know how to paraphrase words and questions and come up with the answers really, really quick, you know. Okay, Brittany, redocking. Okay, there's a thing called a docket. That's a list of court cases, and they can reschedule the court cases. When they say the word docket, that means a list of court cases. There's the guy I'm telling you about. He just turned the corner, but he's the senior guy. Um, so, what they do is they stall. They'll move your case, and they don't want to move their case. You want to keep it going. They're trying to stall the time. And yes, attorneys do charge there by the time, but you have to get the right attorney. I don't know who is representing you. If it's a court appointed, you're not going to get anything out of those guys. But a lot of people get the wrong attorney. It's got to be a dependency attorney. Now, Shelby says she has a judicial complaint form, but it doesn't seem it does. All the complaint forms, by the way, you can go at the state level or at the capital, the federal government level, to the health, to the HUD department, health and welfare department there. Um, so I've answered the redocking. I need to come back to see. Um, and then Shelby says, Brittany, same mine was 17 months. Every single one was clean. All this about the drug testing. And you got to make sure you do your own testing. Don't trust the court testing. I try to get Family Recovery Court in Kentucky to mandate CPR training for all parents after my son collapsed in court, but no one to help him. They said no. Oh my goodness gracious! Your son had a heart attack in court. Did you do the CPR? Was there an AED? I don't know if you know what an AED, but it's a defibrillator. I used to be an ocean lifeguard. I'm also EMT trained, so I have done CPR away from the ocean and done CPR in things there. I wish I was there. I would have helped your son. I'm really sorry uh, about that. Hopefully he came back all right. Okay, I've answered redocking is rescheduling, pushing the case to a later date. Attorneys here charge by the hour, so it's forced them to pay more for lawyers they can't afford it. Well, first of all, you need to stop the redocking. There's no reason. I mean, you could ask yourself if you want to postpone the case to redock it another day, but you got to file a complaint with the judiciary system at the state level against judges. There's a complaint that you can do, and same thing goes for um, the prosecuting attorneys. Let me put that up there. I have about 5 minutes left in my show, ladies. but that doesn't mean it's over. I'm on twice a day, so you'll find me every day. So the only day that I'm on earlier is Sunday morning. I'm on at 8. Um, I have a judicial complaint, but it doesn't seem adequate for my complaint. I need to look it up. I got to spend some time. Um, yeah, during COVID, that was terrible. COVID really hurt. It was all these Zoom meetings and everything else. I agree with that, Brittany. Then my baby was removed from New York to Maryland. Did they use the ICPC organization to move your kids? How were your kids transferred from New York to Maryland? Why were they? They special needs? I cannot believe that they were these special needs babies. What was the reason that New York couldn't handle them? They had to go to Maryland. That's terrible. There's an organization called the ICPC um, that does the protection of your children during the transportation. Um, okay, he hit his head. No AED. Okay, took too long for him to do anything. Everyone ran. Even the judge. That is terrible. People should be trained in CPR. Um, Shelby, he hit his head. Um, how long before the paramedics came? And Brittany says, "No, I lost the case. Case closed. My daughter, father left, changed his number. I have to write you about the entirety. Thank you for the show. We appreciate. Well, I appreciate you being on the show. I really want to help you. I really care. And that is wrong there. That's wrong. And I'm sorry that the husband, of the children, is so angry about that. That's wrong. That's wrong. The case is never closed. Don't give up. Don't give up. Cases are never closed. Some states you can actually rescind adoptions. I was just discussing that yesterday. So, Shelby, is your son okay? Shelby, um, stupid people running, that's not an help. There should have been someone in the courtroom or someone there that had CPR training or first aid training. Okay, I have about uh, a 2.5 minute countdown, and I really appreciate you all um, opening up. I know it's a hard thing to open up. I know it's a hard thing to open up. It really is. And I hope that you come back um, and join my show tonight at 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. I'd like to thank Shelby Lynn from Louisville, Kentucky. And I'd like to thank um, Brittany, who has the stage name of Catherine Elizabeth Walker. And I want to thank you very much for sharing your information. And I'll do some studying on some of the things you brought up. And I look forward to maybe hearing you again tonight. You can also be a guest on my podcast. All you do is contact my show producer. Her name is Grace at vincentwdavis.com. You email her about what time you'll be on the show. You can be a guest. Both you, Shelby and Brittany, can be on the show. I'd love to have both of you, one from New York and one from Kentucky. And maybe I could get Faye to join us too, because she's an advocate too. Yes, there's always hope, Shelby. And yes, God is good. I know God is good. You ladies are good, keeping your sense of cool. And I know how precious your children are. My daughter is 22. My boys, my son still sees my daughter, but my wife and I don't. It's very sad. We just have really, I don't know. It's just we keep hoping and keep hoping. We thought at 18 she'd like to come back to family fold, but CPS has ruined my life. You know, they stole my house because I had to sell it to get an attorney, and then my credit's been ruined, and I'm trying to get a job, and I will get a job again. And so, and I appreciate there's always that hope there. God bless y'all, and thank you so much for being on my